Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today during your lunchtime. My name is François Couillard, and I am the CEO of the CAMRT. On this call with me is Louise Kallhood, Regional Manager for CAMRT-BC, which many of you probably know, and Karen Morrison, Director of Membership and Events at the CAMRT. Our goal today is to update you on progress made since the CAMRT began to deliver association services in BC in January 2018. First, I will highlight a few important developments at the national level. Then, I will remind you of the process that led to the transition from BCMRT to CAMRT-BC. Louise will then talk about all that was achieved in the past 16 months and the upcoming confirmatory vote in June. Finally, we will give you an opportunity to ask us questions and share comments. We hope you find this session engaging and informative. Every time I look at what was achieved in any given year at the CAMRT, I am always impressed by the ability of our employees and members to accomplish so much. This past year was particularly productive. I would like to highlight only a few of these achievements. In a few weeks, you will be able to read a more exhaustive list of successes in our 2018 annual report. First, education. A few years ago, we started providing our members free of charge webinars. The enthusiasm for these educational opportunities has grown ever since. This past year, our virtual offerings increased to 4,198 participants against 735 in 2017. We now have 90 virtual offerings in our catalog. This is in addition to our very successful full-length courses, certificate programs, and quick self-studies courses. Every 4 years or so, we revamp the competency profile document that is the foundation of the national entry into practice exams. Over the last 18 months, we made major revisions to our competency profile and adopted the CAMRT framework already used by many health professions. The new model builds upon common elements of our disciplines while still highlighting the distinct uniqueness of each of our specialties. Choosing Wisely Canada. This is another major achievement that I'd like to talk about. It's a national campaign. Choosing Wisely Canada is a national campaign initially focused on medical professions for reducing unnecessary tests and treatments in healthcare. We were invited to be one of the first non-physician organizations to provide recommendations. Those were developed by a team of volunteers over the past year, approved last year, and released to the public in January of this year. 2018 was the year in which the CAMRT introduced its new model for conferences and events. This new model, with more meetings spread across the country, helped CAMRT reach and engage more members than ever before. The CAMRT contributed to hosting more than a dozen events, with a presence in every region of the country, including BC. The more than 2,000 MRT participants at these events attest to their success, and the feedback received has been excellent. We have just completed a mental health survey with our CAMRT members and members of two other associations, the CSMLS, representing the Med Lab Technologists, and Sonography Canada. The full results will be released in the upcoming months, but I wanted to share with you some of the findings. First, it seems a great majority of CAMRT members are satisfied with their jobs. That being said, most of you also find your work stressful. Over 90% of you find your work stressful, sometimes, often, or always. We are devising a communication campaign to share these results, encourage you to talk openly about the stressors in your workplace, and help you develop coping mechanisms, including giving you access to online support tools. So stay tuned. Here are a few numbers to help you grasp the size and scope of your association. We have over 12,500 members if we include students. More than 3,000 individual members took advantage of our continuous professional development offerings in the past year. As I mentioned, we reached close to 2,000 MRTs through the events we helped organize. Over 600 individual sites across the country celebrated MRT Week with the material provided by the CMRT. Okay, let's drill down to CAMRT-BC. 2018 was the first year for CAMRT-BC. Through this new model, the CMRT is delivering a vast variety of provincial level services to members in BC. Let me remind you how we got there. The BCMRT first approached the CAMRT several years ago to see if we could assist in delivering association services in BC. After several months of discussions, a model was developed which was presented to the membership of the BCMRT and voted on in June 2017. This resulted in the adoption of a new association model for the province. In the new model, provincial services you previously received from BCMRT, such as provincial advocacy, provincial updates, networking, local events, and more, are delivered by a manager based in BC, Louise Kallhood, who is supported by CMRT staff in Ottawa. They assist with communication tools, registration, education, events, etc. This resulted in new provincial dues of $60 in 2018, and this reflects a 50% reduction over 2017 levels, while enhancing the level of services received. A confirmatory vote now needs to take place from May 31st to June 7th, 2019 to complete the transition to this new model. In the past year, the net gain of members in BC has been quite impressive, moving from 2108 to 2182 for more than 74 net new members. Our site ambassador programs has had a reboot. We have over 70 active site ambassadors now. Louise Kallhood, through site visits, interacted face-to-face with more than 900 of you. We surveyed our members in BC at the end of this past year and saw a 4% increase in the number of members reporting good, very good, or excellent value for dues. Similarly, we saw a 3% increase in the number of members likely, extremely likely, or always likely to recommend membership. I would now like to invite Louise Kallhood to take the microphone. I also take this opportunity to thank her for her dedication and efforts and support of our BC members. Over to you, Louise.
Thanks very much, François, and thanks for that high-level overview of activities between the CAMRT-BC and the CAMRT. And hello, everybody. I'm very pleased to be with you today and to have the opportunity to talk in a bit more detail about what the CAMRT-BC has been busy with in 2018, as well as some of the plans for the new programs or initiatives. François mentioned that I would be telling you about everything that we've been doing, but we simply don't have time for that because there has been a lot of activity. So I'll highlight what I think is most important at this time. As a bit of a high-level review, as many of you may know, the Advisory Council was the first group of volunteers that was put together to help guide the direction of the CAMRT-BC. Since its inception, we've met face-to-face twice as well as online twice. Our next meeting is in just a few weeks. There are 11 members on the Advisory Council. If you want to know who they are, you can visit our website to see their photos and bios. This group is very helpful to me as I have even specific questions. I can refer to them and kind of get some feedback for on the ground how things might work or how to expand ideas. In the past year, as François said, I was very busy with site visits, presentations at conferences, various meetings with leader groups, particularly in the Lower Mainland, and really just generally being out and about amongst the members. I was particularly pleased to be at each of the 6 cancer agencies and to be in front of students from all 3 programs, BCIT, College of New Caledonia, and Camosun. So as he said, in total, I was able to be in the front of about 900 members, although some of you may have seen me more than once. And I have to say, when I totaled those numbers, I was actually quite surprised. The CAMRT-BC kept the publication flagship Radiaction, with 2 being put out in 2018. We've also now done 2 newsletters. The most recent one came out just a couple of weeks ago, and you'll see that it's now called InfoShare. I hope you saw it in your email box and took the time to read it and to share some of the information there with your coworkers. Last fall, I attended the National Network as well as the Alliance of MRT Regulator of Canada's meetings. This means that BC has a presence at the national table, a critical component of the Memorandum of Understanding that was agreed to by the BC AMRT and the CAMRT when the initial negotiations and plans were being put in place. And BC volunteers were happy to be able to assist with the programming and organization of the CAMRT Radiological Technology Roadshow last fall. And this event, I'm happy to say, is scheduled again for 2019, October 19th in Vancouver. We've had a recent call out for volunteers, and we'll be putting this working group together very soon. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about member services and initiatives and how they're being organized and how I'm working with that. So if you look at this graphic, it was developed through the work of the Advisory Council as they made recommendations, and we discussed what the CAMRT-BC should be focusing on for member services. And you'll see that this is called member services and initiatives because not all of these programs are formally in place yet, but they're certainly in the development stages. So the 4 main areas of focus that were identified were advocacy, member recognition, outreach, and education. And I have to tell you that this is a key document that I work with every day to prioritize and develop and maintain services. It sits in front of my computer as a way for me to stay focused on what's important for developing our membership services. I'd like to highlight just 1 or 2 specific activities from each area now. So the first one I'd like to talk about is advocacy. And on this list, you'll see the self-regulatory initiative, pride of profession, networking with other organizations, and advanced practice. The main focus here continues to be our work with the government as we move towards self-regulation for particularly radiation therapists. Cecilia Kim and Allison Bowery, the radiation therapists involved, have done an excellent job in responding to all government questions about the scope of practice for entry-level radiation therapists. And while it seems slow, I can say that progress is being made. The next step is for the government to prepare the draft regulations for posting for public consultation. We're currently in a little bit of a holding pattern as the staff at the Ministry of Health has just recently changed over and the new people are getting up to speed on the file. But I am totally confident that there will be progress over the next few months. While no date has been provided for when the regulations would be posted for consultation, we do have good indication that the work is proceeding. Given that there are 3 other professional groups, MedLab, respiratory, and clinical perfusion that are involved, the work takes time and needs to be done right. We understand from our legal counsel that this pace is normal when working towards the regulation of any new health discipline. As soon as the regulations have been posted for public consultation, members and other stakeholders will be notified, and I'll be arranging visits and teleconferences with the various BC cancer centers to make sure that their questions are answered. Pride of profession, networking with other organizations, and advanced practice are all activities that are bubbling in the background. I certainly am out to as many other groups as I can be, including health sciences, the BCIT advisory councils, the Canada Radiation Safety Organization, organizations like that. As those opportunities present themselves, I make sure that we are represented with them. The next area I'd like to talk about is member recognition. And again, on the list, you'll see the awards program, articles with member focus, that would be in our publications, working with volunteers, and the commencement ceremony. I'd like to focus right now on commencement. And I'm so happy to say that this commencement ceremony has just recently been reestablished. With 3 medical radiography programs in the province, the decision was made to work with students from each of the programs to offer separate commencement activities. The last commencement was held in October of 2014, so in fact it's been a 5-year hiatus since we've taken this on. I'm really pleased to say that this weekend, excuse me, on April 6th, the commencement ceremony was held in Prince George. This program has 13 students. They hosted a dinner event for family and friends that totaled 90, so it was a great crowd in the room. The CAMRT-BC assisted with some of the financial costs, attended to bring greetings, and to extend a welcome to these up-and-coming members. The CAMRT pledge was recited, and the newly designed CAMRT pins were presented to each student. So all in all, it was a very wonderful event to start off with. On May 5th, the students from the medical radiography, nuclear medicine, and radiation therapy programs at BCIT will be recognized at a commencement ceremony in Vancouver. And on June 20th, the students at Morrison College will attend their commencement ceremony in conjunction with the graduation ceremony for the college itself that will be taking place that morning. So each of the events is different in format, but similar in purpose, and that is certainly to welcome our up-and-coming members into the profession. It's a significant undertaking to reinvigorate commencement, but one well worth the effort as we recognize these new members and they prepare to become part of our MRT family. Awards, we are currently recruiting for volunteers to assist with this program. If you saw in your InfoShare newsletter, we're looking for some volunteers, and awards is one area for that. You would watch for nominations to open, take the time to nominate a member for the important work that they do as part of the awards program. The third area is outreach, or member outreach. And on this list, you'll see the info sessions, meet and greets, in-services, all those kinds of things that I do around the province. Site ambassadors are a key part of our outreach. The website, which we've been working hard to keep up to date and easy to use, our publications, which I mentioned a bit earlier, and social media. And what I'd like to focus on right now is the Site Ambassador Program. I'm really excited to say that this program grew in 2018 from about 15 site ambassadors that were active in the BCAMRT model, and that program had become a little bit quiescent. But by year end 2018, we had 60 site ambassadors, and I now have 71 on the list. So it's growing and is starting to gain some of its own momentum. These site ambassadors are a key liaison between myself and the MRTs around the province. The key role of the site ambassador is to stay up to date with activities by reading newsletters, notices, and other communications, and sharing this information at their workplace. I have the site ambassadors on a specific email distribution list and contact them with particular items of interest, requests, which might be as simple as reminding them that the newsletter came out and to please print it off and put it in their coffee room, or to make sure that they know what's in the newsletter. In February and March, I held 6 online meetings with small groups of site ambassadors as a way to connect with them and to have them connect with each other and to hear our various ideas for how we can strengthen this program and really maximize the role of the site ambassadors. My goal is to expand this program so there's a site ambassador in every workplace around the province. Ambitious, I know, but I think we should work towards that big dream. You can check out the list of current site ambassadors on the CAMRT-BC website, and you'll see that there's now an interactive map to give you a visual of where the site ambassadors are located. If you don't have one, a site ambassador at your site, please feel free to be in touch with me because I'd be happy to add you to the team. As François said, site visits in 2018, I visited approximately 900 MRT students and leaders as I toured the province, attending also online meetings and educational events. Being with MRTs is a key focus of this position, and I continue to visit as many sites as possible. Please feel free to invite me to your workplace for an in-service, either in person or perhaps virtually through a teleconference to one of your regular meetings. I'd be happy to do that with you. Finally, we're going to talk about education. On this list, you see InfoShare events, the Speakers Bureau, Case of the Month, and leadership development, which is more of a long-term goal. I'm going to focus on InfoShare, which is the name that we've now given to these sort of popcorn type events that we're trying to host around the province. Last year, we held one regional educational event in Prince George in March. This year, as I said, we've rebranded them to be called InfoShare. And just a few weeks ago, we hosted another one in InfoShare North in Prince George. We had 29 MRTs attend in person and 13 members from the Northern Health Authority attend through conference call-in. We had an hour of networking and very good support from our local vendors. And then we had 2 hours of presentations, so 4 30-minute presentations. So all in all, the event goes from approximately 5:30 to 8:30 in the evening. And we think that this is a model that can work in lots of different locations. Plans are well underway for InfoShare Okanagan and Kelowna for June the 12th. And you should see some information about that soon, as we're hoping to be able to host it online for members outside of the Health Authority. So stay tuned for that. And again, InfoShare Vancouver Island is currently booked for October the 8th. We plan to offer, as I said, on-site as well as online attendance. I know that Vancouver and the Lower Mainland hasn't been listed in there, and again, one of my goals is to start to find a small working committee in the Lower Mainland that would assist with the local knowledge that's needed as far as venues and possible speakers, so that we can offer these to all of our members around the province throughout the year. And I should say that Category A CPD has been offered for these events, which is important to many of our members. So in closing, the CMRT staff have been working hard in the past year to ensure a smooth transition to the new model. And I think, I hope that in the discussion you've heard today, you can see that we work very closely together. We together have ambitious goals for maintaining the important products and services that the BC MRT offered and are now being offered under this new model, and also expanding current programs and developing new ones. So for instance, under education, I didn't talk specifically about it, but we're looking to host Case of the Month perhaps, or some kind of online monthly activity that will engage our members and be fun and perhaps have a little bit of a prize that goes with it. And also I'm going to be working with the site ambassadors around starting a speakers bureau. So those I would consider new initiatives. I have to say that in my travels, I haven't heard any comments to indicate members are unhappy with the new model. What I have heard is they like the reduction in the dues, and with this more kind of streamlined office and administrative model, we're certainly able to offer that. And at this time, I would like to remind you that this webinar information is important to everybody. So if you could share what you've heard, and we will be recording it and offering it online so that other members that weren't able to be online today will be able to hear it as well. And finally, May 31st to June 7th is the confirmatory vote, as François talked about it. We consider this basically to be a ratification of how the past 12 to 18 months have gone. And this is your chance to vote and make it clear that you're happy with this transition, or to vote otherwise. But I truly believe that we will move forward with this model, because I believe that we're offering as much or more than we did with the BCMRT model, and it's being done at a much reduced dues level. And I know now that we're going to open it up to questions from those of you that are attending around the province. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Louise. You've been busy in the past year, so thanks for a very thorough presentation. And we'll now open it up to any comments you guys might have on the line or questions for us. Karen Morrison is also online, so between the three of us, we'll make sure we can answer your questions.
Hi, everyone. This is Karen talking. So I have the chat window open, and I noticed that no questions have been posted through the presentation. So I'll pause for a minute now in case you have something you'd like to ask. There's a chat window in the GoToWebinar window at the bottom, and you can just type your question in there. and I'll read it out to the group and then ask either François, Louise, or myself to provide an answer for everyone's benefit. So I see one here that says, what is the reason for the second vote? So I can answer that one. The reason for the second vote is that part of our promise to you when this process was started in 2017 was that we would give you an opportunity to try out the new model and then to have a confirmatory vote ratifying the decision that was made. So technically and legally, the vote was taken in June of 2017 and the decision to dissolve the BCMRT was taken. But our commitment to you in the province was to let you have a chance to experience the new model and then to have a confirmatory vote after a period of time had elapsed. And so this is us coming back to you for that confirmation as we promised. So this is a question, I believe, for François. It says, radiological technologists around the world are increasingly moving towards a bachelor level qualification as a minimum requirement of education required for practice. Does the CAMRT working with the CAMRT-BC does the CAMRT working with the CAMRT-BC most likely working with the educational institutions have a long-term plan to future-proof BC practice in this realm? If this is out of the scope of this webinar, please feel free to say so. So this is a great question maybe for Louise and or François to take on.
Hi, it's François. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Okay, I can take this one. Several years ago, probably 10 to 15 years ago, there was a huge debate across the country around this, and with a lot of proponents of going forward with a bachelor's educational program for all MRTs, pushing to have that put in place. For all sorts of reasons, it did not happen, and what became really, really clear is that the decision to as to the length of these programs rested at the provincial level. So certainly, if at a national level, there's not much we can say or we can influence in this area, but at the provincial level, if the Ministry of Education in BC felt that this was the way to go, it would be up to them to do that. Right now, there's no activity, there's been no request, there's no move to try to push that agenda from us, at least.
Thank you, François. So I have another question here, and it says, BC has no college overseeing the radiological technologists, and therefore there is a lack of motivation for the technologists to engage in continued professional development. Given the lack of college, does the CAMRT-BC have any insight into this conundrum? So perhaps this is a question I can throw to you, Louise. I believe it's Andrew Murphy asking this one. Hi, Andrew. Louise, I'll let you take this one if you don't mind.
Hi, Andrew, and thanks for the question. As you know, we've worked for many, many years to work with the government as far as forming a regulatory college for MRTs in BC. And finally, in the last, I would say 3 to 5 years, got some attention from them. And we are part of a movement for an umbrella college, which is what the government has ascertained is the only way to move forward. They're not in support of single profession colleges at this time because of the issues around financial sustainability. So as part of that process, other professions joined in with us that include medical laboratory, respiratory, clinical perfusion, ultrasonography, cardiology. It was quite a number that put in a joint submission. And at the time, when all of those groups were recognized by the government as wanting to be part of an umbrella college, radiation therapists or radiation therapy were separated from our family of disciplines. And sorry, I'm just looking at something here. And so at that time, radiography, nuclear medicine, and MR were kind of left to a phase 2. So at the moment, we are working with the government with radiation therapy and the other 3 groups. And the message that we have so far is that there will still be a phase 2, and that as part of that phase 2, it will be the other 3 disciplines within the MRT family. I understand that it's an issue and a way that we can move forward to help motivate our members to be more active educationally, and that's certainly one of the reasons why the CAMRT-BC has been active in this initiative for so many years. I hope that that helps.
Thank you, Louise. So I have another question here from Monique Walkinshaw, and it says, MRI technologist wages in BC are low relative to many provinces. Can the CMRT-BC assist with advocating for reducing this wage disparity? Louise, would you like to take that one?
I can. I guess to say that it's really not within our mandate to do this work actively, but we do assist, and we have assisted with members that have asked for information that would be helpful as they make the case to their employers and their union and other organizations that they need to work with around wages and working conditions. That's not really the mandate of the professional association. It is that of your union, Health Sciences Association in BC. So unfortunately, nothing that we can do directly to intervene, but we can certainly provide some support, data, and assistance that way.
Thank you, Louise. We have another question from Darren Oakey, and it says, thank you for the presentation. My question is, when the CMRT-BC model was presented, we were told the dues reduction was due to the BCMRT's funds being used to lower those dues. If this is still the case, is there an estimate as to how long our dues will be at this reduced rate? I can take this one. So Darren, that was the agreement. So what we had said was we would commit to this dues rate, and if necessary, we would use the BCMRT's funds to keep it at that rate going forward. The reality is that we built a budget that doesn't rely on those funds. So there are reserves that exist with the BCMRT, but we have not used them to keep providing member services in your province. We have used the revenue collected, as the provincial portion of your dues, and we have used the existing infrastructure at the CMRT with no additional cost. So by doing that, we've been able to provide all of these services and programs with no need to dip into those reserve funds. Our plan is to continue building our budgets that way conservatively so that we do not need to use them and that those can remain in reserve to either keep the dues lower, as long as possible, and or to provide additional programs and services in your province. So I think that's the last question I'm seeing in the window. I'll just pause for another minute in case someone would like to ask a follow-up question. I hope those answers have been fulsome and interesting for you. If you do have any follow-up questions following this webinar, you can feel free to reach out to Louise or myself at any time. We're very accessible and happy to discuss any of these issues with you. I'm not seeing any additional questions or indication that anybody is typing. I'll just check the chat function, make sure there's nobody there. There's nobody there except for me. So I think that probably wraps us up today. As I say, thank you all for spending your lunch hour with us, for asking such interesting and contemplative questions, and for your faith in us. And I'd like to also thank Louise for all of your amazing work in the province of BC. It's safe to say that things are going great gusto and great steam ahead, in large part because of your dedication and your amazing professionalism. So thank you, Louise. And thank you, François, as well, for taking the time to be with us on this webinar today and to answer questions and to provide an overview. We'll sign off now and say thank you and have a great day, great rest of day, rest of week, and we hope to talk to you all again soon.
Goodbye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody. Thanks.